Hey, Don Copeland here today. I'm going to show you another way to make money with your Mutoh 661UF. What we're going to do today is an example right here, just a loyalty card like you would use for, a gym, a restaurant, anything, someplace like that where you get points. This one is just kind of a generic one, but you could very easily, with the software that comes with the system, set up a variable data situation and use this barcode here or QR code and variable data, so that would actually be an individual serial number or whatnot for somebody when they do it. We've done something a little unique here, and I wanted to show you this. If you don't have a jig for something and you don't want to stick a bunch of things down to the bed itself, we've actually laid a piece of white vinyl in here, and you can see I've already loaded up, I think, 28 of the 32. You see right here what we've done is we've actually created an outline that's raised. I made this about half the height we would make braille, so that I can sit the cards in there. We go ahead and load the cards in. And in the software section, I'll show you how we generated this and what we did to print this out, and then how we set up and printed all the designs out on this. You'll notice what we did is we actually left a corner off, turned those all in towards the middle so it's easier to get in there and flick a card off. The reason I did this instead of doing it straight onto the sticky mat like we do in a lot of situations is you want to turn this around relatively quickly, and also it's hard to position a card on a sticky mat, whereas this, I've got a little bit of slide, I can slide the card right into the position I want it to be in. Then again, when I go to take it out, really easy to take it out because there's a corner. All right, let's get this loaded up. We'll show you how we printed it. Let's go here and show you how we set this up, how we set up the actual outlines, which we created to do the jig on the bed, as well as the artwork itself. So we'll start off here showing you how we generated the jig for the bed. As you can see here, I've created basically a rectangle with a corner cut out of it. The reason I cut the corner out of this is so we can get our finger in there to take the card out easily. I went about 1/100 of an inch around the cards. We had a little bit of space in there, but not too much. And when I oriented them all to the same side of the actual jig, just so we know they're in the same place. So what I've done is I've taken this. Now I wanted to be able to make sure that these are all, I have the opening all in one spot. So what I literally did is I went in, and we're going to move this spot on this one right here, this corner up there. I'm going to move that to just a logical place. We're going to go, say, 6-4. Put this at position 6 and 4. So that spot is at 6 inches and 4 inches. I'm going to duplicate this, and now I'm going to mirror it horizontally. All right. And now what I want is this corner to be at 6-4. So I'm going to go up here to the top, select this, put this at 6. It's already at 4. Make sure I got the right one. I do. All right. So with that one, we're going to put it at 6 and 4. And so now these two positions are exactly the same. Now all I need to do is to grab these two, duplicate them. Now before I move them, I want to mirror them. So I want to mirror them vertically. All right. And now I want this spot to be here at the same spot. That would be the bottom center to be at 6 and 4. And voila. We now have our entire setup right there. Now what I can do is just take these, take this and drop it in here. Center it up to there. And again, duplicate that, do the same here. Oops, grab the wrong one, that's all right. Duplicate this, move it to this one. Duplicate, and move it over to this one. All right, now I actually have everything set up. I'm going to clear a look at our entire sign blank. All right, I want to just take this down here, move it to a position close to the bottom, so we can see how many we can fit in here. I'm now going to line these up in an array. I'm going to put 0 spacing between them because these we want to just butt align to each other all the way across. So go up, see how many will fit up. All right, in this case I got 4. See if we go to 5, it goes off the page. All right, we could have probably set this up to just do one, but since I'm doing it in 4, we won't worry about that. Go to 4, and then we're going to go across here. Once again, we see it doesn't fit. But again, as you can see, we once again probably on this could have gone further. So we have 4 by 8 on this. I could have gotten 5 by 9 on it, but we're not going to go with that. We'll just go with what I did for the example. So we have these. Now I did move them up a little bit. I believe on this I set them in the top left corner 1-1. And there you go. And what we have now is we have 2 layers. All right. You'll see what we've generated. I want to turn off that I just generated and show you what I did in my artwork. I have 2 layers. The first layer, as I have turned on right now, as you can see, that is our outlines, which we're going to print over using a texture mode, which was our build up. Like I said, I built this up about at half the level that I would a braille, just to give us some place to identify where to lay the cards at. Once I printed that to our rip, turn that layer off, turn back on the layer, which is the layer of the print, and sent that over and printed to it so it corresponded directly to that jig, and we're ready to go. Show you in the software. This is the outline. This is the actual graphics that we printed. And then under the texture and doming, you can see this is actually the outlines that we did to print onto the bed for our jig. This is nice. Like I said, I used a piece of white vinyl down on the bed, left the backing on it so it's not sticking, and stuck that down onto the tacky mat so that we could print onto it and the card would slide around nicely in here and be easy to get out and not stick to the mat. And when we're done, we just pick that up and we can discard it. There's not as much cleanup as there would be anyway. You can use other materials if you want. It's just inexpensive calendar vinyl. It's fine. It's a great way to do that. So that's it. And you know, the actual, you can go through and run a process only to get an idea of the cost. That was $1.43 to print the actual graphics on the cards. And I want to say that when we did this, it was less than that on this. The print time on this was pretty long because it was a decent buildup, but we just started it printing and went and did some other work we had to do. This is building up multiple layers, why the processing is taking a little bit longer than it would for a typical graphic, because it's actually printing multiple layer in one pass of clear and white ink to do the buildup, and then it's going to come back and do a white layer over the top just so it's easier for us to see when we select it. As you see, we're using our Texture Max Braille inline pass. What I did, instead of using 100% clear, however, I used 50% clear. So we only got half the buildup that we would out of typically doing this for a Braille situation where we would need a much higher buildup. We didn't want that high. In fact, too much of a buildup on this for a jig would cause it to be higher than the item we're placing in it, which is not what we want. We want it to be lower than that item. 65 cents, 63 cents right there. So you have about less than a dollar, including the vinyl or so, maybe right at $1 or so, using an inexpensive calendar vinyl into building your jig without having to go to somebody to cut it with a laser or cut it with a CNC or something like that. You print your own jig. When you're done, you can throw it away. Obviously, if you're doing a lot of a certain type of item, you're going to have a more permanent jig made. But for a temporary jig, this is a great way to go about it. Let's go back and see how our print's looking. All right, let's talk a little bit about opportunities to do this type of printing, give you an idea what it'll cost. I'm not sure of the cost of these cards, but you know, typically these type of cards, you buy them in quantities. You're going to be under a nickel to maybe 10 cents for the blank card. We did the math on this. It's $1.43 to print all 32 of these, which is about 4.5 cents worth of ink. Now, obviously, if you were printing this on a white card, you would not have the white ink that's going down here, as you see first initially with the first half of the head, so you wouldn't have that added expense to it. But you would also have a white card, which might be boring. We kind of had a conversation about this. Specialty card like this, you want it to be maybe a little more obnoxious type of color. It kind of jumps out in the person's wallet when they're looking in at it. And you know, I don't know that I would do these for really large organizations because they can get, you know, bulk printing prices on, you know, thousands and thousands of cards. However, you know, small operations or special events or something like that where they want a really high-class look of having a specialty card for somebody without a huge investment into thousands of cards at a time, you can knock these off if they need to be. Plus, you can do the variable data, which is really powerful, so that card isn't just a special card for an incentive or something like that. It actually ties to an account or something like that. So it's just a great opportunity to be able to expand your reach to maybe some of your customers you already have, or use this as an entry into the door to new customers who are looking for this type of printing, who also will need the other type of printing you're already doing with your UV printer. There we go, it's done. Just under 23 minutes to print. So comfortably you would turn around, say two and a half of these. Certainly turn around 2. As we mentioned, we actually have room. We could have actually gone 1 row deeper down here, 1 column wider. which instead of 32 would have given us, let me do the math here, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times 5. All right, so that would have given us 45 cards on here, and it wouldn't have greatly increased the print time. But easily you're going to be able to turn around in the area of 100 cards in an hour with an ink cost on them of about 4.5 cents on each one. And for short run type of specialty cards like this, we were having some conversation while this was printing, just the areas it would fit. Small, local as opposed to international or national types, franchise and chains things. This would be great for, a small coffee shop, a brewery, anything like that. You get these loyalty club cards, and you could give these away, or you could sell these, or people could buy into a package where this is part of what they get. You can use these or something to give away at charity events and stuff as well, and a lot like that. So just another application, cool stuff we did here. Printing on the ID cards full color. Secondarily, generating our own jig, just using a piece of vinyl, and the texturing abilities of the software and the Mutoh 661UF.